Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer. Served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
Let's go on a Tuesday. We're about 35 minutes from me melting down on the radio as Charlie is back, already telling me he's going to make me angry at the 340 segment when we do Charlie Sounds of the Day. So that's so much fun to look forward to for me. Just can't wait to get to 340. At least with Jack Pembroke yesterday filling in for Charlie, he was real nice. Like I said, Savannah Bananas, Wimbledon, nothing crazy or over the top. Charlie comes back with a smile on his face. I'm back. And then I got to deal with Charlie. And when I got here today, I said, hey, man, how was your trip to Door County? How did it go? I was being real nice. I wasn't even a jerk today.
I'm not going to be that much of a jerk.
And then he shrugs at me.
Not that bad.
I'll tell you, maybe I should have been.
I could be a bigger jerk.
So how was Door County anyhow?
It was nice. It was a nice little vacation. Got to try some good wine.
Did you go to Sister Bay Bowl like I told you?
We did not go to Sister Bay.
I could have told you that
Sparky,
before he even left. He wasn't going to listen to me.
Sparky, we're just not a bowling couple.
You don't have to be a bowling couple. That place has got great food, man. Their fish fries at Sister Bay Bowl. Anybody listening to me that has gone to Door County will tell you the same thing.
We want to be outside. We want to do outside things.
It was too dang hot outside, wasn't it?
No,
How was it up there?
It was beautiful up there by the lake.
It was cold
it was nice,
or colder?
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. See. You went antique shopping and stuff into the shops and all that?
A little bit, yeah. We didn't get all so much. I got this hat from a random brewery that I went to.
That's nice.
We didn't even drink any of the beer. We just got a hat. But.
Nice light blue hat.
Yeah.
Are you into wineries and drinking wine or what?
Oh, we did. We went to a couple wineries.
Did you?
And tried a few wines. Yeah, it was a good time. Mostly for her. I just get the sweet stuff that tastes like juice whenever we go to those.
Really?
So, yeah.
Well, very good. So there you go. There's Charlie's update on his vacation to Door County and getting away this weekend. All right. Normally, we have our Green and Gold update at 4 o'clock. We're going to change things up. We're going to do it now here at 3 o'clock. Also, don't forget, we're only 2 weeks into this. It's brand new. Listen on your Odyssey app, AUDACY, but you can also now check us out on the iHeart app, on the TuneIn app. We're in anywhere you listen to your favorite shows, you can listen to us there as well. All podcasts, all available on all those different platforms. So Odyssey, iHeart, TuneIn, Apple, wherever you may listen to it. And we're on YouTube now as well. We got the video part going after 20-some years. We finally figured out this video thing. We're 2 weeks old, so give us some time to really get it all right. But I think we're doing pretty good. It's pretty much Charlie, me, and Tommy trying to figure this out, and we're going in the right direction. I'm pretty happy with what we're doing so far. So check that out. We live stream all the local shows, Pack-A-Day Radio Show, the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis, weekday mornings from 9 to 11, this show from 2 to 5, the Leadoff Show, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook with Tommy Wirtz before every Brewers game tonight starting at 5 o'clock, 90-minute pregame show. Hear from Reese Hoskins, hear from the skipper, Pat Murphy, as he talks before the game today. And then, of course, Wisconsin Sports Weekend, Saturday mornings from 9 to 11 with Charlie using Jack Pembroke. That is streamed as well. So all you have to do is go to youtube.com/@thefanmilwaukee. Use the @ symbol, @thefanmilwaukee, and you can go back and check out everything that you may have missed or just watch it live as it's happening here in the studio in Hales Corners. With that, let's get to this.
It's time for your Green and Gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan with Steve Sparky Fifer.
All right, so let's get to something that apparently irritated a lot of people. And I'll tell you who's the most irritated by all of this, and I think we should probably reach out and try and get him on tomorrow. Maybe you can text him and see if we can get him on. Peter Bukowski is livid about all of this. Just besides himself, mad. All he's been doing all day on social media has been kind of defending kind of the other side of this. Tomorrow, is Wednesday, so the Brewers are going to be playing all that stuff. So maybe we'll get Peter Bukowski on at like 2:40 or 3:20 or something like that, because the Brewers will have a day game at American Family Field. But I definitely think we should get Bukowski on. So Brett Coleman, who I like, I think Brett Coleman does a great job. Big fan. He's the creator of All 32, co-host of the Bootleg Football podcast as well. And he put up a tweet yesterday that got so many people mad. The more I dig into the 2024 Packers, the less they make sense. That team was held together by duct tape and timely Xavier McKinney interceptions. Now, I'm going to leave it there. We're going to start just right there, okay? Duct tape and timely Xavier McKinney interceptions. Let me remind you, and we are trying to get Brett Coleman on too. Let me remind you, McKinney was great in the first half of the season getting picks. McKinney was not getting interceptions in the second half of the season. That was not it. First half of the season, he had interceptions like every damn game. And then it fell off and he wasn't that guy necessarily anymore making all those interceptions. Now, it can be because teams were going away from his side of the field, whatever, but he wasn't making the picks. I read this tweet. I'll read it again to you, Charlie. You tell me what your response is. Now, again, remember, he's a Chicago fan, so, you're going to be a little spicy Chicago stuff on this. This is Brett Coleman, the more I dig into the 24 Packers, the less they make sense. That team was held together by duct tape and timely Xavier McKinney interceptions.
I would say that's not the whole story.
Thank you.
Seems like he didn't really watch every game.
I promise you he did. He's a film dork.
At the same time, I would also agree to some degree here that there were points last season where the stats said the Packers defense looked better than they were on the field. And I think a lot of that was in the second half of the season. Not only did Xavier McKinney not get those turnovers, but teams were taking a lot of this like long type of approach to their offensive drives against the Packers defense,
time-consuming,
where it was just constantly getting to third down, but they would be able to convert on third down over and over again. That's how the Chicago Bears beat the Packers at the end of the season, was by taking the Lions approach to how they were beating the Packers as well. So yes, their defense was playing well in the stat category, but when you watch them, it just kind of looks like they were getting beat down slowly, and then their offense couldn't back them up. So I don't know if it's really about questioning the defense, but more so questioning the offense in those clutch time, short time situations where they have to be the ones to speed up the game when the other team is controlling that side of the ball.
Okay, so then he goes back and forth online. This guy, Anthony Nash, says, what metric doesn't show that they were a top 10 team? They were top 10 in both DVOA. You could say they had a lack of blue chip players at premium positions, but their overall roster performed quite well. Coleman responded, 4th in EPA. So that's what? Estimated plays per average or whatever it is, right? EPA plays allowed, but 16th in EPA percentage. Allowed paints the picture I'm talking about. Explosive defensive plays that are hard to project from year to year. Turnovers are fickle, and those elevated a lot of their overall metrics. 14th in conversion percentage allowed. 24th in successful play percentage allowed. 16th in negative plays generated. I'm not saying they were a bad defense. I'm saying they were an average defense that generated a ton of turnovers because McKinney played out of his mind.
I would say that last statement would be pretty accurate.
That McKinney played out of his mind?
Well, that and
sure.
That it was an average defense that was carried by big-time, clutch-time turnovers.
So this is my question. Because if you believe what he believes, Coleman, and if you believe that turnovers are fickle, meaning, yeah, you may be a good turnover team this year, but the next year you may regress, and you may be more along the middle of the pack, and now all of a sudden that defense doesn't look as good if everything else around it isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. That means there should be regression, right? They're not going to be a top 10 defense. The question is this for our Green and Gold update brought to you by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Are you buying the Packers returning to being a top 10 defense this season? Because they didn't do much. They didn't do much on defense. They lost Alexander. They added Hobbs. That's the story, right? The rest of this defense is pretty much the same as it was last year at this moment in time. So if you're belying what Coleman is saying, that means there's going to be regression coming backwards unless you see 1 or 2 or 3 other players on this team taking a big leap forward in production that allows you to overcome possibly the turnover differential sliding backwards, being back closer to 0 than it was last year. Nicolay Love Fan Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. Sound off with a recorded voice message on the Odyssey app. I'll be honest with you, and I know Peter Bukowski and I are not going to agree tomorrow if we get him on. I get what Coleman's saying. It makes sense to me. Maybe I'm nuts. But folks, how many of you complained about Kenny Clark last year? Now, we found out later he was playing hurt all year, but how many of you complained about Kenny Clark not being as productive as he should have been last year? Quite a few. How many of you complained that Rashawn Gary wasn't there every week like he was supposed to be? How many of you complained that there was nobody else getting to the quarterback outside of Rashawn Gary on a regular basis? How many of you complained outside of 2 weeks that Quay Walker was a bust? The one positive in the front seven that we all agreed upon was Edgerrin Cooper, the draft pick, of holy crap, this dude's going to be a stud. Making impact plays, plays in the backfield, running sideline to sideline, super athletic. Like you see star when you see Edgerrin Cooper. You see star. You see Pro Bowler, maybe all pro. You see all of that if he can put it all together, right? That's what it looks like. Outside of that in the front seven, what nobody else that anybody else was writing home about. Nobody. Lucas Van Ness, where is he? Right? Now that secondary, you could say, hey, that secondary performed pretty well without Jair Alexander. Considering what they got out there, they did pretty good. Keyshawn Nixon exceeded expectations for what he did. Carrington Valentine played better than I think most people thought he'd play. McKinney was an absolute stud, right? And then next to him, you had a rookie starting at safety. And Evan Williams that nobody thought was going to be the starting safety. Everybody thought it was going to be Javon Bullard. Bullard ended up playing the nickel. When he had to play safety, it's so good. But he played some pretty solid nickel when he had the opportunity to. So there were some positives there. I've always stated, and I believe this, in order to be a Super Bowl caliber defense, you have to have a stud in the front, a stud in the second level, and a stud on the third level. That's how I've always thought of how, if you want to have that great defense, you kind of got to have three. One kind of at every level. They've got a stud in Edgerrin Cooper. It appears they got a stud in Xavier McKinney. If Rashawn Gary can be that 15 or 16 sack player, then maybe you got a stud pass rusher that changes the game. But if he can't be 15 or 16 or something crazy like that, or if you can't find somebody else to be a 10 to 12 sack guy opposite of him, it's going to be hard for this defense to overcome a lack of turnovers if that's what happens this year. If they don't get as many turnovers as last year, because McKinney just doesn't have as many, and you can't get to the quarterback consistently, that's going to lead to some regression, I think, Charlie.
I think it's going to lead to a lot of regression. When you look at a team like the Chicago Bears in 2018, they were one of the best turnover teams in the league and had a good pass rush.
One of the luckiest teams in the history of football.
They had 27
Mike
interceptions.
Brown that year, it was like he had magnets on his hands, getting balls, tip balls, every other damn ball Mike Brown caught.
That's what it felt like. They had 27 interceptions that year in 2018. They had 8 forced fumbles, and they went 12-4 because of that. They also had Khalil Mack, who had 12.5 sacks that season, which helped out a little bit too. The year after, they lost Khalil Mack, and they didn't have the same kind of turnover production that they had the year before. They had 10 interceptions, 12 forced fumbles in 2019, which isn't that bad. But lose Khalil Mack, don't really have a star pass rusher, and go 8-8 because they don't have that strong production in the turnover category. Kyle Fuller was never really the same player if he wasn't turning the ball over. Yeah. Eddie Jackson was never really the same player if he wasn't turning the ball over. The other key to that compares them to this Packers team right now is that in 2018, that was Roquan Smith's rookie year, the star middle linebacker that they put a lot of focus into for a while there and didn't really feel like they needed to focus on their defensive backs. 2019, he plays really well but gets injured in 2019 and doesn't help the defense at all after he gets injured from that point on. There's a lot of parallels between this Packers defense this past year and this Bears defense. Now, granted, that Bears defense was a little bit better than this Packers defense.
Packers did not have that many turnovers.
No, they did not have that many,
close.
And they didn't have the same. They don't have the same amount of talent as that
Correct.
Bears team had on that team. But
Yes.
at the same time, you see how much it can change when they don't have those turnovers and when they don't have that pass rush at the same time. How detrimental that can be to an organization.
And this goes back to me asking to please trade for a pass rusher at all expense. I just.
It helps get the turnovers.
Wait, you don't want to give up draft picks. They're like gold. La, 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 la. But I'm sorry. Like, that literally is one of the missing pieces right now. You don't have a straight-up great cover corner. That does not happen. You don't have one of those guys. So because you don't have one of those guys means you cannot allow these dudes any more time than the average of 2.5 to 3 seconds to throw. You start letting guys have 4 or 5 seconds to throw. I don't care what secondary you are or who you are. You aren't going to have enough corners to run around with wide receivers for 4 or 5 seconds without them getting open, which means it's critical to get pass rush. And if you have to sell out to get home with linebackers and blitzing corners and everything else, and if you don't get home and they have an opportunity to throw it, you're going to get burned for big plays from time to time throughout the season. And Hafley will have no chance or no other situation to get to the quarterback other than selling out to get home if your front four can't get home consistently, or at least 5. Even if it's 5 guys that are going consistently and 6 are dropping back, I feel better about that than having to rush 7 guys, 6 or 7 guys consistently in order to get home. That's why there is so much pressure on the Devontae Wyatts of the world, right? Without Slade, and not that he was a big sack guy, but he moved people back into the quarterback a little bit. So without Slayton, now it's Wyatt has to do it. Kenny Clark has to do it. Rashawn Gary has to be one of those guys. Everybody is gambling that Van Ness takes a big step this year. I'll be honest. If I'm Lucas Van Ness and I'm hearing all this, it's on you, it's on you, it's on you. I've seen the video of him working out. He still looks stiffer than all get out. I don't see how this is going to change. I don't. Like, you can't even. Some people were like, when he came out, I was like, oh, he's going to be like Aaron Campman. That dude is not Aaron Campman. There is no chance. Aaron Campman had way more bend than this dude has. Not even close to being the same type of player. He is just a physical bull rusher is kind of how he is going to win. There is not a lot of bend and get underneath somebody and come speeding off of the corner. That is not who Lucas Van Ness is at this point.
And there's not a lot of straight-up bull rushers in the NFL that have a lot of success in this style of play in this era of the game.
Yeah, that's another great point. There's just not, because these offensive linemen are so damn big at this point.
Right, you got to be faster than them. You have to be bigger or faster and still be as big.
That is your green and gold update brought to you by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. So I guess for me, I'm kind of buying into what Brett Coleman is selling here a little bit, that there probably is going to be some regression unless something changes in that front seven and a playmaker emerges, right? So Quay Walker has a bust-out year and does something big time at that point. Then maybe I can get down with, okay, here we go. We got something now, right? Quay Walker finally is living up to his first-round potential. That would be good, because then you'd have 2 linebackers in him and Cooper that could get home. Isaiah Simmons, who's everybody has tried, and nobody's had as much success as everybody thought they would have with him coming out in college when he was a top 10 pick. Now you get him in Jeff Hafley's system. Maybe Isaiah Simmons at linebacker now produces those explosive plays and big game-changing defensive plays that utilize his speed in the correct way, and Simmons ends up becoming a game changer. But as we sit right now, looking just at the history of these players, I can't sit here and tell you that I think it's going to be as good necessarily, unless a game changer comes along, or unless Xavier McKinney is what we saw last year, where he's going to get 6 to 8 picks every year. That's just who this dude is, and that's going to be who he is. Now, if that's who he is every year, whoo-hoo, they got to steal. They got a steal in Green Bay, and the Giants look even more horrible than they did before for letting Isaiah McKinney get out of time. Coming up next, we're going to change thought process here. We're going to talk about Pat Murphy, Brewers manager, and his approach to benching Joey Ortiz for the last couple of days. Now, it appears Joey Ortiz is set to be back in the lineup today, so the benching lasted for only a couple of days. But Pat Murphy's comments to the media, my question is, how long can Pat Murphy take this approach with Joey Ortiz and others before it possibly wears thin? Nicolay Law Fan Talk, text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250, Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. Sound off with a recorded voice message on the Odyssey app. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Time for your fan weather forecast, brought to you by Utke Heating and Cooling. Right now, rain and lots of it, and 73 degrees. Low tonight of 66. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM at 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie using other side of the glass, still to come. Leadoff show, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Tommy Wirtz gets you ready for Brewers baseball. 90-minute pregame show today, coming up at 5 o'clock. Here from Reese Hoskins, here from Pat Murphy before the Brewers game today as well at American Family Field. It's Jacob Mizorowski against Clayton Kershaw. The game will be on FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin, but also I believe it is on TBS. Brian Anderson on the call for that one tonight. That is going to be a much watch to see Mizorowski against Ohtani, Mizorowski against Freeman, Mizorowski against Betts. Like, this is must-watch baseball tonight when it comes to the Brewers and the Dodgers, Charlie.
I'm going to be tuned in. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's going to be I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. Man, if you somehow figure out a way to win tonight, and you take the first two in the series with a chance to get a broom out tomorrow afternoon, and all of a sudden the Dodgers have lost 5 in a row then going into tomorrow, woo-wee, that is going to be something else. I'll tell you that much. Okay, so I want to talk about what Pat Murphy said yesterday. Pat Murphy, does his pregame, whatever else. And I'm not quite sure how this all came up as far as, why is Joey Ortiz out of the lineup back-to-back days or whatever the case may be. But listen to what Pat Murphy had to say about Joey Ortiz not being in the lineup.
Murph, Joey's been out of the lineup back-to-back days now. Is there something that he's dealing with?
Yeah, the manager's pissed. You know what I mean? I want him to give me his best approach at the plate, and we've given him a lot. I mean, we play him every day, and we need him. And he can't just have lapses at the plate like that, So he's got to fight through that.
His manager is pissed at him. When he says we've given him a lot, I'm telling you right now, you go look at that dude's numbers in May. Nobody in baseball is playing that dude every day in May. There's no chance. There's no chance anybody is sticking with Joey Ortiz through May. He turned it around a little bit there in June, started getting back to where you wanted him to be. But Pat Murphy is right. They've given him a ton of room to make mistakes, to figure it out, to grow, to get better, and so forth. Now, understand, part of the reason that they are allowing him to have as much room as they've allowed him is because he's unbelievable defensively. If he was average defensively, toodles. See ya. There's no chance they're letting him play every day hitting as bad as he was hitting. There's no chance. But because he's good defensively and the closest threat to him is at Double-A and Cooper Pratt, they're going to play him. So I don't know specifically what Pat Murphy is talking about as far as his approach at the plate and not maybe being as aggressive as they want him to be or whatever the case may be. But Charlie, you brought up a good point earlier that we kind of went through something similar to this earlier in the year, and that dude we haven't seen really all that much since, and that's Tobias Myers.
Tobias Myers last season was in rookie of the year conversations, and this year comes into the season injured at first and then is playing semi-well in the minor leagues, gets brought back up, and then does a couple stupid things at the major league level that kind of make it seem like he's a young player and making bad decisions. Pat Murphy publicly comes out and says he's not happy with what Tobias Myers is doing on the mound at that moment and that he needs to figure it out, and then he takes him out of the rotation and eventually just sends him back down to AAA, where he's been not heard from for the rest of the season, basically. I mean, this is something that with these players who have given you a lot last season, for you to be so quick to jump on them when you haven't done that with a guy like Jackson Chourio, let's say, seems a little strange to me.
It is the next phase, right? So phase one with a bunch of rookie players was, I'm going to pat them on the butt, tell them they can do it. I'm going to correct the mistakes they make and act like they've never played baseball before and show them how I want them to play. Show them the work ethic that I want them to have. Show them the baseball IQ I expect them to have. Right? We're going to do all of that. Well, now today is year 2. And I guess the best way to put this, I feel like, is it kind of feels like they're in high school. Last year, they were freshmen. This year, he's got a bunch of sophomores on this team. He's got a freshman in Mizorowski, obviously. But for the most part, these guys were all with Pat Murphy last year. They all know expectations. They all know the work ethic he expects. They all know the baseball IQ that he expects. They all know the effort that he expects to be put out. By the way, side note, why is it William Contreras never has to hustle down the first base line and nothing is ever done about it? Has anybody else noticed that? He is like the only dude that does not ever run hard down first base. He's like the only guy on the team that never runs hard. Ever.
I feel like when you talk about these guys as freshmen and sophomores, like you're talking about, he's right now the star junior, I guess. And when you're the star junior, you have a rest of the team full of sophomores. I think a high school coach would tell you need to focus on the sophomores a lot more than the juniors. So his little issues that he's dealing with aren't as big of an issue as Joey Ortiz or Caleb Durbin, what they're doing.
Okay, fine. We'll go with that theory, I guess. It drives me nuts. So anyways, if these are the sophomores, right, don't be making freshman mistakes. I told you last year I'm not putting up with this crap. And now you're still going to do it? Cool. Out you go, Tobias. And Joey Ortiz, man, I'm talking to him blue in the face, and you aren't listening, or you aren't being as sharp as you need to be day to day, and you're having these mental lapses or whatever the case may be, where you're not as focused as you need to be. So let me refocus you and have you watch for a couple of days and see if this fixes it. This is the thing. It's not a viable threat. He doesn't have anybody else. I don't care how bad he is at the plate. Andrew Monasterio is not the answer to send a message to anybody at shortstop at this point, Charlie. Like, it's just not viable. Like, Joey Ortiz is sitting there blowing bubbles with his gum, whatever, watching the game yesterday. No way you're going to allow this to happen much longer. Because if you do, Matt Arnold is going to be right down here going, I don't care what's going on. He needs to be in the field. I'm not watching Monasterio anymore. If you make a benching, then you got to be able to follow through. So now they're going to put Ortiz back in the lineup. If he stinks now for a couple more days and goes back to doing what he doesn't like, is he going to pull him again? Or is he going to be like, well, good enough. It's the All-Star break. Then we're going to come out of the All-Star break. And if he goes back into the same rhythm, can he afford to pull him? Unless they trade for a shortstop that's going to eventually replace him. Like, now Toronto got hot, but if it would have been Bo Bichette, okay, you're up. You're done. That's it. You're going to play third with Caleb Durbin, and we'll play the hot bat. Otherwise, you're going to sit. It's either that or call up Cooper Pratt, because Monasterio can't be the guy. So that's why I feel like if I am, at this point, looking at it from the perspective of Joey Ortiz, I'm not all that worried that I'm going to get screwed here.
The biggest key is keeping Andrew Monasterio on the field. First of all, you have very little to lose by playing him at this point with the way Joey Ortiz has played throughout the entirety of this season. And I know Tommy Wirtz loves to talk about, especially the past couple weeks, how hot Joey Ortiz has been. And that's been awesome when he's on the field. Right. But if he's not going to play like that consistently and it's going to get him benched, then you can't just keep giving him back those chances, because then you're not following through with what you were saying before, how they're sophomores now and that they have to listen to you and they have to start fixing those little things that they do. They won't listen to that if you keep putting him back into the lineup. You have to keep Andrew Monasterio out. And honestly, when you take Andrew Monasterio back out of the lineup and put Joey Ortiz back in, and let's say, like you're saying, hypothetically, Joey Ortiz doesn't play well again and you have to take him back out, what kind of message does that send to Andrew Monasterio, your potential replacement for a guy like Joey Ortiz? He's going to think he's just the backup guy. You're just using him to send a message to a Joey Ortiz. No, if you're going to make this type of change, you have to either leave Andrew Monasterio in, or like you said, give Cooper Pratt a chance. Give somebody else a chance. I don't care how young they are at this point. Just give them a chance. It has to be better than what you're getting.
How long can Pat Murphy take this approach with Joey Ortiz? Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Facebook and Twitter at The Fan. Milwaukee sound off with a recorded voice message on the Odyssey app. The crazy part about this is nobody covering this team, I don't think, can tell you what triggered this. Because if you look at Ortiz's numbers, he was 0 for 3 in his last game in a 4-2 loss. The game before that, 1 for 3 with a run scored. He had a walk in that game. The game before that, 1 for 3 with an RBI against the Mets. Game before that, 0 for 3 with an RBI. And the game before that, the Mets, 1 for 4, a run scored, 4 RBIs with that grand slam. Those are his July games, all 5 of them. He's hitting a .188, 235 on base, 438 slugging. So that's bad, yes, but that's not like I guess 3 for 16 isn't very good. But still, something obviously triggered this to get him going. Because in the month of June, 277, 326 on base, 422 slugging. If those are his numbers every month, I think you're relatively happy if you can get that every month. He had 3 home runs in the month, was it? 3 home runs in the month. So that's, 18, 20 homers on the year, 275. Take that all day. The problem is that was his hottest month. In June, he hit 160. No, in May, he hit 160, a 222 on base percentage in May. 222, 267 slugging. In April, he hit a $195 and 278. He's hit under 200 every month but June.
It's insane. And I think what we've seen from him, the sample size, has been a majority bad. The second half of last season and the majority of the first half of this year were not good. We saw a good first half last year and a good month now. I think you can't expect him to be better. And like we talked about, if the Dodgers are going to go on a 5-game skid, if the Cubs don't really look like they're all that real, the Phillies at moments don't look like they're all that real, the Brewers have a perfect opportunity here to slingshot themselves to the top of the NL if they play their cards right. The problem is leaving Joey Ortiz in this lineup is not playing your cards right.
He is Charlie Usen, producer of this show. Steve Sparky Fifer with you. I'm the host. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM at 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, where you can go and check it out. 6,500 square feet of beautiful colors. Beautiful colors. 30 sporting events at one time. You can go watch tennis. You can go watch racing. You can go watch golf. You can go watch baseball, right? Brewers and Dodgers tonight, Miz and Kershaw, you can go watch it right there if you don't have tickets to go to American Family Field. When you sit down, whether it be a big chair, like recliner chair, whether there be the big massive booths that fit like 6 to 8 people or tabletops, whatever, you're going to have the time of your life. And you're going to make friends. You're going to make friends. Because people are going to be rooting for what you're rooting for. People are going to be rooting against what you're rooting for. And you're going to be cheering, going back and forth and all of that. I'm telling you, you are going to have a lot of fun. And the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen is amazing too, right? 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails, amazing food, all-day brunch, homemade pastries and desserts made on premise each and every day at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Don't forget about the gambling kiosk right there off of the 4th floor parking garage, which is free, by the way. You walk in right across from Rock and Brews, make a couple of bets, and then you can go off to one of their fine dining restaurants throughout Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Whatever your taste may have, they got something for you. Or you can just head straight on down to the sportsbook and eat down at the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen. They got you covered. I always say, get the dudes, you're having a bachelor weekend or a guy's night out, whatever else. They got hotel rooms, bachelorette parties, whatever the case may be. You will have a blast. Reserve your seats ahead of time. That's always my suggestion. You don't have to, but I suggest it. Go to Potawatomi.com/sportsbook. Potawatomi.com/sportsbook. It's a nominal fee, but it goes towards your food and beverage costs for the evening. Coming up next, Charlie's Sounds of the Day here on The Fan. Welcome back. Steve Sparky Fifer with you. Charlie using other side of the glass. We have to get to Charlie's sounds of the day. Before we do that, let me tell you all about U.S. Cellular. I've been with them 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. And they've been doing these Us Days promotion for the last couple of years, and it's back again this year, going up to July 16th. So still time for you to get on board. Over a week left to get on board with this. Now, Us Days means us, the customers of U.S. Cellular, baby. We get to enjoy the perks. If you want to enjoy the perks, go sign up and become a member of our club, the U.S. Cellular Club, right? Become a customer. Telling you, you won't regret it. I don't think I've come across anybody that's ever had issues with customer service at U.S. Cellular at any point. Everybody I've told to come aboard has come aboard, and as far as I know, for the most part, outside of maybe one, everybody has stayed. And the only reason the one person left was because he thought he could get a great deal on the phone with somebody else, so he took it just to get the phone. Nothing that U.S. Cellular did wrong. So this is the place where you should be. I've been telling this to everybody. You go in the stores, right? Hey, who do you have your cell phone with? And it's U.S. Cellular, and I'm not changing. Have a good day. And I keep walking, right? No matter what you tell me, I'm not going to listen. I've already been with a couple of these cell phone companies I've had issues with. I'm not going back. These Us Days this year is their exclusive event to celebrate loyal customers with unique offers. This includes big discounts on new phones and tablets, plus other giveaways and events like parking lot parties. Some of these parties across the country, food trucks, DJs, bags tournaments, all kinds of cool stuff going on. Parking lot parties are happening all over the country at different U.S. Cellular stores. You can find your nearest local event at uscellularparty.com. Again, that's uscellularparty.com. It's going up to July 16th. If you can't get to a party, customers can also visit the store or the website and check out the best upgrade offers of the season with U.S. Cellular.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on The Fan.
All right, let's get to it. Charlie using top 3 sound clips of the day. He already told me earlier he's going to make me angry today with what he's got. So let's see what he comes up with for today. What do you got, Charlie?
Only like one of them, and I'll start with that one that's going to make you angry.
All right.
Just to get it out of the way for you, Sparky.
All right.
This is one of your favorites, Paul Pierce, NBA legend, on his
being
show
sarcastic.
Speak on FS1. I had a different clip here initially. It was of KD talking about him being the kind of face of Achilles injuries. Well, in that same podcast, Mind the Game with LeBron James and Steve Nash, they also talked about Kevin Durant being the most equipped scorer of all time and how they think he's probably the best scorer of all time.
I already know what this is.
Paul Pierce wanted to throw his head into that conversation.
Idiot.
I was probably the best pure scorer ever in the history of the game because I was pretty equipped. When I think about it, I'm just saying like,
Could you pull up from the elbow?
I need to be in this conversation.
Could you pull up from the elbow?
I got
Could you
all
knock
that.
down the 3?
All that.
Could you back him down?
3-point contest champ.
Could you turn around?
All of that. Post up.
Could you dunk?
All of that. I was shooting. I must have been one of the most equipped. Look, here we go. Boom. Who's this? I'm to the rack.
Okay.
3 people.
But I got to show a Laker highlight, but I get it.
Yeah. Look. Oh, let me see. Go over your head.
Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, that's
this
pretty.
This is equipped. Oh, you want game winners? Wop, wop, wop. Here we go. Like, I'm trying to figure out
what was your efficiency?
Yeah, like, I think, when he's talking about his efficiency, because I shot more bad shots than Kevin.
Yeah, you was just
For
hot
sure.
dogging. You wasn't as clean.
No, I shot more bad shots. But Kevin, because he's 7 feet, he can get his shot off on anybody. He don't really see defense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why he's so efficient. There's nobody at his height on the perimeter. He changed the way we look at perimeter. He pretty much changed the game on the perimeter. Like being a 7'2" guard, you know what I'm saying? That's like, come on, the biggest 2 guard when I came in was like 6'5", 6'6".
Dirk was what, a 3?
Dirk was a 4, man.
Was he a 4?
Yeah, he's 7. He playing center. He a center playing at the point guard,
so
2 guard.
patient.
You know what I'm saying? So all his matchups and the way he shoot the ball and gets it all, he efficient with it. So I can see why LeBron would say that. But shoot, you got to put me in that talk when we talk about most equipped scorers now. Come on, Bron.
It's done now. Yeah, you're good.
Couple things. One, KD has never started as a 2 guard in his entire career. So I don't know where the heck that even came from. Man's never been a 2 guard ever. And you can say he plays like a 2 guard. You can say he plays like that. Okay, man's never started at the 2 for anybody in the league. You imagine how big that lineup is if he's your 2? You imagine?
That would be kind of cool.
Your center's got to be like 7'3", your power forward 7 foot, your small forward 7 foot, and then he's at like 6'11" or whatever out the 2 guard. Your point guard's probably like 6'6". I mean, you're talking about a long lineup. So forget that for a second. Paul Pierce. Do you know what I think of when I think about Paul Pierce?
What's that?
A wheelchair. That's what I think about when I think of Paul Pierce. I think of him in a wheelchair. That's what I think of. Paul Pierce was a really good player. Really good player. I'm not trying to slight Paul Pierce in any way, shape, or form. I got some news for you. You're not in that conversation. You're never going to be in that conversation. Because you were never at any point considered one of the greatest players of all time. You weren't considered it when you played. You weren't considered one of the great players in the league. You were considered a really good player. Like Paul Pierce was always that second-tier player throughout his career. That's how he was viewed in NBA circles. That's how he was viewed by the media. That's how he was viewed by the fans. And I'm willing to bet you most Celtics fans in Boston would say the same thing, that he was viewed as that guy over there. That helped. Take it a next step further. They went out to try to help him win, and they got him the big ticket, Kevin Garnett, and they got him Ray Allen. They got him both those guys to form a super team. He didn't leave going looking for one like LeBron. He didn't do that, right? He didn't do KD and go hop on Golden State's train after they won a championship. So he was there. They brought him 2 guys. On that team, if you were to line those 3 up back then, I bet you most people are still taking Kevin Garnett 1 on that team. They still take AG over Paul Pierce probably. And then maybe it's Pierce, and then maybe it's Ray Allen at that point. But Ray Allen was a bad, bad man back in those days too, coming from the Sonics. He was still a really good player. Even though it was a couple years removed from the Bucks, he was still in his prime, still doing his thing back when he was with Boston. Now, by the time he got to Miami, he was more closer to the end and more of a role player type guy, but he was still that guy. And then you had Rondo at point guard orchestrating all this stuff. The best whole pure score thing, like when KD has the ball in his hands, you're just waiting for him to score, right? You just expect for him to hit a shot. And if he misses, you're like, whew, okay, didn't score on us there, right? That's what you're thinking. I never had that feeling watching Paul Pierce play. Whenever he had the ball, I wasn't thinking, oh, he's going to score here. Like when Michael Jordan had the ball, you're like, oh, crap, here's 2. Or God forbid he hits 3, or there's going to be an and 1 on this dunk. Like those type of guys, you just expect to score every time they touch it. I never had that feeling watching Paul Pierce. You knew he was going to get his 20, 25 every night for sure. But I never had that feeling of fear because Paul Pierce had the ball in his hands.
No, and I don't think a lot of people would disagree with you on that. He's a very good player. He's a Hall of Famer. He's going to go down as one of the better scorers of his era. But when you even compare him to some other guys in history, he doesn't come close, man. It's not even a contest. KD is that guy.
KD is that guy. Yes.
All right. Next up here, we're going to hear from...
I didn't get too worked
Yeah,
up.
not too bad. Pacers president Kevin Pritchard was talking with the media, and he was discussing the Miles Turner deal with the Milwaukee Bucks. Here's what he had to say on it.
I want to get into the specifics of Miles, because the truth is he gave 10 great years here. I loved having him be here. I hope I'm friends with him for a long time. I know this, that Herb Simon and Stephen Rails and the Simon family were fully prepared to go deep into the tax to keep him. And we really wanted to do that. And we were negotiating in good faith. But what happens in this league is sometimes you're negotiating, but because a guy is unrestricted, he has the right to say, that's the offer I want, I'm going to take it, and that's best for my family. And again, we were in good faith negotiations. It was a little surprising that, how Milwaukee created that. I don't know if, we always say in our conference room, there's cap teams that have cap space, and there's shadow teams that have cap space. You can go get but it becomes very challenging by buying out or making trades, and hat tip to Milwaukee to do that. So I think the most important thing is we were deep in conversations with Miles, and then we saw that he'd accepted an offer with Milwaukee, and again, that's part of this business that is challenging. I can tell you this also, that there are two kind of things that I believe that is kind of fundamental to the league right now, and that is change is inevitable and expect the unexpected. And I can't tell you that, we were fully expected for that.
That is great stuff from Kevin Pritchard. I'm a big Kevin Pritchard fan. I think he's a really good GM. Just like I think Sam Presti's a real good GM. No shock there. I think they're both really good at what they do. And I'm sure that was a huge gut punch to Pritchard specifically, and to Carlisle, who have been riding and dying with Miles Turner for a while. Now, if what he says is true, that they were deep into negotiations, they claim that the Simon family, they were fine going into the luxury tax. That was never going to be an issue. They thought they were going in the right direction, trying to get a deal done with Miles Turner. But meanwhile, the guy that runs the agency that represents Miles Turner, he was doing his own separate negotiation, trying to get even more money out of the Bucks to get Miles Turner there, and then figuring out with Horst how to get with that money to make it work going forward. I would love to know who came up with the idea to stretch and waive Lillard. Was that a Bucks idea, or was that dude's idea of, here, I know exactly how you can get Miles Turner in and keep him with Giannis. What if you did this? I don't know if they can do that by league rule. I'm pretty sure you can. All right, well, hold on, I'll get back to you. You can go back and look at it. Yeah, I guess. But what about long-term with cap and so forth? You'll be fine. The streaming numbers, the money coming in, the cap's just going to go up and up and up, and that's not going to be as big of a deal as what you make it out to be right now. Trust me, John, I'll help you get players if need be, but let's just get this deal done with Miles. You do what you got to do with Lillard, and let's roll. John said, okay, sounds good. That may not be how it went. It might have been John Horst's idea, and it's like, hey, I figured out a way I can get Miles Turner in here. What are we talking about money-wise? And let's see if we can get this done. Maybe John is the one that initiated it. I have no idea. And I don't know how Pritchard and Carlisle look at the Milwaukee Bucks. Do they look at the Bucks the same way fans look at the Pacers, right? Do they look at the Bucks and be like, that's our rival, anybody but them, right? And then he goes to anybody but them, and that feels even worse. It would be like, in my opinion, it would be like Giannis going somewhere where Jimmy Butler is. Like, I would just be beside myself livid if he ended up somewhere with Jimmy Butler. Outside of that, or with Halliburton, I guess, with the Pacers. Those two guys. Anywhere but those two, I would be not happy that he left necessarily, but whatever. It is what it is. He got us a championship. I'm not going to sit here and cry forever about it. But Miles Turner to the Bucks, man. Whoo! I can't even imagine what the teammates on that team were feeling at that point, Charlie.
Oh, they were probably pretty upset about it.
Woo!
I feel like they probably had some feelings on that, but also...
Dude, remember the Celtics? They lost Ray, and Ray went to the Heat. Those boys didn't talk to Ray for how many years after that? They were hot how that whole thing played out.
Yeah, but also, again, I feel like that was a little bit different because you talk about Ray Allen on the Heat. At that point in his career, he was on the decline. That felt more like he was chasing a ring. It didn't really feel like he believed in the team that was around him.
He already had a ring with Boston.
With Miles Turner here, this is a guy that I think looked at the situation the Pacers were going to be in last season and says, you know what? I think overall for the trajectory of my personal career, this is the better move, and this is where I can take the next step. And I think some of the Pacers teammates around him would agree with him that this is how you get yourself into that next category as that role player. This is how Drew Holiday got to the point he is right now, is by going to the Milwaukee Bucks and working with Giannis to elevate his career and how he plays at that point. I think Miles Turner can do the same thing.
I very well could. I'm not saying he can't. I just can't imagine being in that situation where you think you got a deal done and then you find out through social media, not from him, but you find out like everybody else that he's going to your rival team and was negotiating with them the whole time, and you had no idea. I would not have handled that as well as Kevin Pritchard did publicly. I would have broken something. He may have broken something. Somebody should ask him, do you break something in your office when you found out? Like, how mad were you? Because I would venture to guess he was livid at that point. All right, next clip.
Last up here, we're going to have some positive things. This is Mark DeRosa on MLB Central and MLB Network. He was discussing the Brewers' win over the Dodgers last night, and he kind of answered our question from earlier in the show. What would winning this series mean for the Brewers? He discusses this Brewers team moving forward and what things he thinks they need.
What I want to do is give the Brew Crew some love because they're scrappy, man. They always have been. You got to love Pat Murphy, but their lineup kind of, we talk about how do you add value? Old school, willing to move runners, hit the ball on the ground, do the little things. They smack you in the mouth with Sal Frelick. 2017 Gatorade high school, Massachusetts Football Player of the Year. If you don't think he gets you going, you're lying to yourself. Double. Then we got Jackson Churio, who Brian Anderson's back on the Brewers games, Lauren. I know huge fans of him.
Yeah, I saw that last night.
Do you know Jackson Churio is the youngest player in the big leagues?
I did not know that.
I feel like he's already immersed himself as one of, and I know he's not having a great year to start, but, and then a resurgence from Christian Yelich, and I shouldn't say resurgence, he's just healthy. Yeah. But they are a scary, scary team because fastball Freddie can get it done. Mizorowski goes today.
And Brandon Woodruff.
And Brandon Woodruff looked darn good. So, hey, I need the owner of the Brewers to go out and let me do a few things because this team's willing to fight for you and your city. They're willing to fight.
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you, DeRosa. I'm with you. DeRosa always has energy. Does not matter what time of day that man is on TV. Could be morning, could be middle of the night. Always has energy whenever he is on. I enjoy listening to DeRosa, even though he was a Cub. Still enjoy listening to him. This is the thing. As Brewers fans, we know not to expect a whole bunch from our owner as far as going out and getting a big piece necessarily as we sit right now. There's two reasons. One, he has always stated that he just wants to be competitive. And then this year he added on, his deal is to provide entertainment for everybody in the summer, which he feels he does a good job of. Okay, fine. We don't ever hear about winning a World Series, and that's the say-all, end-all. And before I give this team to my kids, I want a World Series myself while I own this team. Then they can take it and run with it and get their own World Series ring. But I want one as owner, and we're going to get one before I'm out of here. Like, he doesn't talk that way. When the Bucks owners took over, Lazary and Edens and those guys, what did they say? The initial press conference. And then Mark Lazary came in studio with us. They said, we're going to win championships. That's what we're trying to do, right? And they emphasized the S on the championships. That's what they were talking about. And that's what their goal was the whole time. We are going to win championships. They got one. Lazary said, that was fun. I'm out. See ya. I don't want to pay anymore. But mission accomplished. They got the championship. Brewers owner, he don't talk like that. That's not a thing that he talks about. Now, we could talk about, he loves or he hates losing more than he loves winning and all that other nonsense that I've heard. Fine. But he's never pushed in necessarily the way that you kind of have to when things get interesting and you got a chance at it. He doesn't necessarily do it to that degree. And part of it is finances. He doesn't have the money to push in like the Bucks with all their big-time owners. He's got individual co-owners or whatever else, but I don't think they're rolling with the type of cash that the Bucks owners have, which leaves them in the lurch as far as what they really can do at this point. So then the other area you can go in is, sell prospects, Sparky. Sell prospects and go get your guys that way. And then you're only having to pay somebody of the rental players. You only got to pay them a couple of months, and then there should be no excuse of how this whole thing works. That's a fair point. I have no disagreement with that. The issue that I have, however, with that is quite simple. If you trade away a bunch of your prospects, and we're going to talk more about this coming up in the next segment, then if you're trying to stay consistently competitive all these years in a row without going backwards, you lessen the chances of doing that at the cost of trying to go for it and hopefully win. And if you don't win and you screw your farm system, and now there's going to be a backlog of 3, 4, 5 years because you just raided your farm system to try and win, then what happens? Then you're screwed. See the Chicago White Sox. They went for it. They won a World Series with Ozzie Guillen, but Kenny Williams unloaded his farm system trying to get that whole deal done. They haven't been the same since. So that is a prime example. So you play that balancing act of what's too far and what's not far enough necessarily. We'll talk about a proposed deal that ESPN has up for the Brewers to go get Ronald Acuna, stud outfielder from the Atlanta Braves. And I want to know, would you go all in for Ronald Acuna? I put this on social media earlier today. Got all kinds of responses. We'll talk about it next. Plus, still to come, Sam Dykstra, MLB Pipeline. They have an updated top 100 prospects list. 6 guys from the Brewers. 6 are on the top 100 list for MLB Pipeline. We'll discuss all of that coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM at 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Don't forget, you can always listen live on your Odyssey app, AUDACY, or at thefanmilwaukee.com. If you miss anything, looking for podcasts, we're wherever you download your favorite podcast app, whether it be Odyssey, iHeart, TuneIn, you name it, we're there. Check us out.